Hello everyone, welcome to CNA, the daily newspaper analysis. So today we are back with the following list of topics to discuss. So let's start. The first topic says about India shifting to green power transition. So why this is what news? Karnataka and Gujarat are among the major states making the most progress in transition to clean electricity according to a new report of India's energy transition prepared by the Institute for Energy Economics and Financial Analysis along with EMPER. Okay, so today when I have to say about the energy transition of India, okay, today we could see that India is very much concerned about the climate change, which is an existential threat that has the potential to change the course of human history for the West. And we all know fossil fuels are the traditional energy sources that constitute the largest contributor to the climate change. And therefore, they account for over 75% of global greenhouse gas emissions and approximately 90% of all carbon dioxide gas emissions. So, therefore, today, when India is focused towards green energy, which is what? It's a term of energy that comes from renewable sources, and therefore, green energy is often referred to as clean, sustainable, or renewable sources of energy. So, therefore, India is world's third largest energy consuming country, and energy use has doubled since 2000, with 80% of demand still being met by coal, oil, and solid biomass. So therefore, in 2019 even, India announced that it would take up its installed capacity of renewable energy to 450 gigawatt by around 2030. And therefore, we can see various number of schemes, be it the PLI, the Production Link Incentive Scheme, the PM Kusum, Pradhan Mantri Kisan Urja Suraksha Evam Uthan Mahabhiyan, which aims to provide financial and water security to farmers through harnessing solar energy capacities of around 25,750 megawatt by 2022. So therefore, today we could see that India has got a good number of challenges in its respective transition. But yes, India is doing its level best so that India could directly empower this particular number of green energy towards every associated activities that we can see in the coming times. Okay, so therefore today the green energy is one of the prominent uh, category of work that India needs to focus upon, and therefore we can see that Karnataka and Gujarat is amongst the top major states which is directly showing this type of transition towards green energy. Okay, so this is about the respective first news. Secondly comes about fossil fuels firms fail to curb methane emissions. So the International Energy Agency released the annual Methane Global Tracker report in 2023. So this report is very important. And this report has come up after energy giants Shell, BP, ExxonMobil reported record profits last year as the Russia-Ukraine war drove up oil and natural gas prices. So the energy sector accounts for around 40% of the total leverage methane emissions from human activity. And we all know oil and natural gas companies are known to release methane into the atmosphere when natural gas is flared or vented. So it is also released through leaks from valves and other equipments during the drilling, extraction, and transportation process. So the fossil fuel companies emitted 120 million metric tons of methane into the atmosphere and have done nothing to find and fix these particular infrastructures which are leaking. So therefore, today there are very good number of ways why we need to curb the methane emissions essential. So today we can see methane is one of the main gas responsible for global warming, which is associated with the greenhouse gases. Okay. Also, we could find that according to the IPCC, International Panel for Climate Change, the world must cut methane emissions by at least 30% by 2030. And therefore, today, since this particular global rise, which is going ahead with the process of 120 million metric tons of methane in the atmosphere in 2022, is not good for the transition of any country towards the cleaner sources of energy. And therefore, we can see that methane production को हमको घटाना पड़ेगा, तब जाके हम लोग climate change में थोड़ा सुधार ला पाएंगे in the coming times. Okay, so that was with the respective report. So please do remember this report, which is basically the report of Methane Global Tracker Report in 2023, published by the International Energy Agency. Okay, next, India's third moon mission. So it basically says about Chandrayaan 3. So we can see recently the Department of Science has started that India plans to execute a Chandrayaan 3 mission by this time period. So at this point of time, we could see that the Chandrayaan-3 mission is a follow-up of Chandrayaan-2, which aimed to land a rover on the lunar south pole. So the subsequent failure of the Vikram lander led to the pursuit of another mission to demonstrate the landing capabilities needed for the lunar polar exploration mission proposed in partnership with Japan for around 2024. So it will have an orbiter and a landing module. However, this orbiter won't be loaded with scientific instruments like the Chandrayaan 2. Okay, so therefore today we need to have this particular Chandrayaan 3 with this GSLV Mark 3 satellite, which is basically a 3-stage satellite designed to launch communication satellites into a geostationary orbit. Okay, so therefore today we need to have this particular things. तो यहाँ पे बोला गया है कि cryogenic engine that will power a crucial stage of the LMB-3 launch vehicle of Chandrayaan-3 put through flight acceptance hot test. तो अभी यहाँ पे testing चालू है because by 2024 we will directly have a launch of this particular Chandrayaan-3, which will be the successor of Chandrayaan-2. Okay, not having every type of components that we can see in Chandrayaan-2. Okay, so therefore this particular Chandrayaan-3 will have a orbiter, landing module, and it will not have any type of equipments and specific instruments like the Chandrayaan-2. Okay, so that was the difference with respect to this mission. Okay, next, regulating online sale of drugs in India. So why this was a news? So the Ministry of Health and pulled up at least 20 companies including Tata 1mg, Flipkart, Apollo, PharmEasy, Amazon, and Reliance Netmeds by issuing them a show-cause notice for selling medicines online. So this happened after the All India Organization of Chemists and Druggists, AIOCD, a powerful lobby of over 12 lakh pharmacists, threatened to launch a countrywide agitations if the government did not act. So the acute need for doorstep delivery of drugs was felt during COVID-19. And the year 2020 marked a watershed movement for the growth of e-pharmacies as the Ministry of Home Affairs issued orders for them to continue to operate. And it saw nearly 8.8 million households using home delivery services during lockdown. So now the center is of the view that online sale of drugs without a doctor's prescription or even otherwise poses threats to the public health, including drug abuse, especially among youth. And many instances of drug abuse, especially among youth, have surfaced lately. So it's a great risk to national security as well as online data can be misused for criminal activities by promotive addictive medicines. So government has been receiving various representations raising concerns regarding sale of drugs via online platforms in contravention to the Drugs and Cosmetic Acts of 1940 and rules under this particular act. So therefore today we can see that if such number of things are regularly going on, this may lead to mass number of illegitimacy that can grow in the coming times. And therefore, we can see that there should be a proper code of law so that this particular online sale mechanisms can be monitored well, and therefore, the government is acting stricter against such number of online pharmacies. Okay, so therefore, it is saying about the regulating the online sale of drugs in India with respective to the easy sale of these drugs and which is affecting the respective populace. Okay, chalo. Last में आते हैं editorial international courts and climate change. So why this particular things were the news? Because a group of 16 countries has launched a gallant report to fight the problem of the climate change at the United Nations. So what is the issue here over here? So see, there is an island country in South Pacific Ocean that is known as Vanuatu. Okay, Vanuatu, Vanuatu. Okay, so the group seeks an advisory opinion from the International Court of Justice on the issue of climate change. So in the 27th UN Climate Change Conference, COP27, countries failed to narrow their differences on critical issues such as reducing greenhouse gas emissions, etc. And this perfectly exemplifies the failure of the international community to get its act together on the issue of climate change. So though some of the initiatives has been taken by Vanuatu, supposedly the Small Island Developing, this is the SID, which is a program having the most vulnerable of rising temperatures and sea level. Okay. Also, Vanuatu launched an initiative through the UN General Assembly with 6 advisory opinions from the ICJ to clarify the legal obligations to all countries to prevent the adverse effect of climate change. And since then, the initiative has gathered momentum with reportedly more than 100 countries backing the respective idea. So now, if I have to say about the ICJ, so today the legal questions arising out of the initiatives has come up, and therefore the ICJ will have a multiple questions to address regarding climate change and reparations. So there comes a question of international obligations on countries towards the protection of the climate system from anthropogenic emissions of greenhouse gases. So therefore today, every number of things will be reiterated, and therefore the challenges of ocean warming, sea level rise, and ocean acidification are all linked to the marine environment. So, as a part of the multi-pronged approach to save our planet, one should welcome the role of international courts, and developed countries and groupings like G20 should have supported these laudable initiatives of the SID states. So, India, as the president of the G20, should take a lead given its relentless emphasis on life campaign, and therefore the concern of Vanuatu having a group of this small island developing states, which are a distinct group of around 38 UN member states and around 20 non-UN member associates. Okay, that thinks about unique social, economic, and environmental vulnerabilities that this particular countries may face in the coming times. And obviously, this time there will be a climate change for which each one of this particular small islands would suffer, because the small islands which are barely above the sea level, they would drown first if the climate change occur, and the sea level rise is very much necessary in the coming times. So therefore, in this particular editorial, we can see about the concern of this particular SID islands, okay, and also about the concern of international courts to tackle such number of phenomena in the coming times, and how to deal with such number of climate change which can affect such number of countries at ease. Okay, so that was with respect to the editorial. So we have this 500 MCQs. Please do attempt these MCQs and do join our WhatsApp and Telegram channel for further updates. Also, please do an attempt at this particular mains question so that you can come up with some of the flying colors in the coming times. So that's all for today. Thank you and Jai Hind.